Hello to my fellow KW stakeholders. Of course, it's Aaron Kaufman, Chief Stakeholder Evangelist out of Atlanta, Georgia, bringing you another edition of the My 401 KW interview series where we jump in and dive deep with some of our top profit share earners and stakeholder-minded associates. And this morning is no different as we have a chance to talk to one of my favorite people in KW, Ms. Helynn Bougher. How are you doing today, Helynn?
Hi, Aaron. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Love the t-shirt. Thanks for wearing it today.
Thank you.
I know we had some technology issues last time we were scheduled, so thanks again for making time today to share with everybody. And look, I know you share a passion for profit share at the same level that I do. And before we kind of, jump into your profit share story and all that stuff, I know you came into real estate as a dual career agent after some big life changes. So would you mind taking us back, Helynn, to where you were before you got into real estate, how you ended up joining KW, and then kind of talk about this journey you've been on with KW, because I know you've, really have become such an amazing person at our company and have really dived into a lot of the things that we have to offer. So go back to pre-real estate, where you were at, what was happening in your life, what brought you into real estate, how you found your way to KW.
Thank you, Aaron. Well, I always like to say I took a backflip into the real estate industry.
I love it.
Actually, I would go back to September 11th. I actually had two friends of mine who perished in September 11th.
Oh, wow.
And one of their actually both their family members said they finally got their dream job, the job that they were looking for to make them happy.
Wow.
And that was an aha moment for me, because none of my jobs since I graduated college was my dream job. I really actually went to several different jobs and industries looking for that right fit and to find out what would make me happy. So that started the path. And then shortly after, a few months later, after September 11th, I was released from that job. So I said,
freed.
It's time to reinvent myself. And I took a moment to think about what it is that I wanted to do with my life. And I narrowed it down to two things.
You were in your 30s, Helynn? Were you in your 30s? How old were you at that time?
I was in my 30s. Okay. We're giving away age this morning?
No, I mean, look, a lot of people, I'm 51. I didn't really find my passion until my mid-30s. I think a lot of people feel like if they haven't found their calling or their career by their mid-30s or their late 20s, they feel like they're behind. But I just wanted to make sure people understood that, you were in your 30s and you were kind of reinventing yourself at that point, which a lot of people think you should already know what you're doing, by that point. So
I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, of course.
So actually I was like, okay, so I want a career. I want something that I can grow with, that will grow with me. And I said, there's two things I could be really passionate about. One was education. And the second was, I said, real estate. I said, real estate really seems like something that I would want to do. It would be exciting. So those were the two career paths that I narrowed down. And at that point, I had my daughter. So she was less than a year old.
Wow.
And I said, rather than go back for my master's, it would be much easier to go back and get my real estate license. Sure. So I decided to go on that path. But unfortunately, I didn't find KW right away. I started at a small mom and pop shop because in my mind, I thought they would show me the way. Take me by the hand and show me the ropes. Sure. And that could not be further from the truth. That is not what happened. And I came in very excited, very eager to learn and show me, I was there. Yeah. I was in uptime in the office. I did it all, but nothing was happening. And I looked around and I saw that everyone in the office said, well, everyone is pretty busy except for me. I don't understand how they're so busy and where they're getting all these appointments, because no one even took the time to talk to me about that.
Sure.
So, being stubborn like I am, I said, I'm going to figure this out, and I went outside for my own training, because they didn't even have training in the office. Definitely not technology. So we didn't have any of that either. And I stayed there for almost 5 years, believe it or not.
Wow.
But a year and a half in, I said, this is not working. I'm not making any money and I need to go back to work. And I told my broker, I'm going back to work. I'm going to do this part-time and I'm going to go back to work. And what she told me was, you will never make it in this business as a part-time agent. So those were her words. And I said, okay, well,
what a supportive environment. Yes, exactly. Exactly.
So I went back to work. I actually took a little part-time job at a bank. And the irony in that, I was actually a personal banker. So I had access to everyone's information and accounts. And I knew everyone that came into the branch. They knew me. And when you start at a bank, they actually have to take your fingerprints and bond you, and everyone knows that you're licensed. So I didn't tell them, all of my supervisors. They knew coming in, but I tried to keep everything separate because I thought I would lose the job by talking about it. So fast forward, one of our best customers, she came in and she met with our investment banker, and she had an investment property, a condo that was actually just sitting vacant. And she spoke to him and he said, you really need to get rid of that property. You should sell it. You should have Helynn sell it because she's licensed. And I was like, oh my goodness. So the whole branch was rooting for me to sell this property. And little did they know, I never even had my first listing.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh boy, here we go. So I didn't want to let anyone down. And I said, absolutely, I could sell this property. And I went running into my brokerage at the time. And I was like, I have my first listing. I have an appointment. What do I do? What do I do? And literally, Aaron, they gave me a folder and was like, here, good luck. They just handed me the folder and put the listing paperwork in. And I was like, wow, this is where I am. So that was the wake up call for me, that I was definitely in the wrong place. So that started the path. And to make it even funny, one of my friends that I made while I was at the brokerage, I spoke to her and I said, I think it's time for me to leave. It's definitely time for me to find greener pastures because I'm not growing. I'm just stuck and I need to go elsewhere. So we literally went through every brand and started researching where would my next place be. And I was like, no, not that one. No, that doesn't feel like a good fit. We started checking off the list. And she said, what about the one with the book? And I was like, the book, right? Because at that time, it was Keller Williams Who, right? So we weren't, it wasn't big in the area. So she said the MREA book.
And who said that to you? Who said that to you, Helynn? Who said that? What about
actually, she worked with me. It was one of my friends that worked at the brokerage with me. We were both still in that brokerage, but she knew about the MREA book. Yeah. So that started my curiosity. So I said, I need that book. And then I said, oh, the colors are great. Red and white. I love those colors. Those are my favorite colors.
Yeah.
It was meant to be. So after that, I also went to a networking event. So in the networking event, because KW was on my radar, I met a gentleman by the name of Randy Herman, and he handed me a card. And guess what it said? It
said, have you ever considered joining KW or a career at KW? Was something like that, or?
No, it just said KW. So I basically accosted him. It was like, oh my goodness, KW, tell me more, and how can I, find out about KW? And he was like, okay. And he wrote down the name of our team leader at that time and said, well, you need to have a conversation with him and tell him that I referred you. I said, I definitely will do that. And then the rest was history. Once I sat down for the appointment, I already did my research and I was like, okay, where do I sign? And obviously he was the one that got me into the appointment. So
And let me ask you, so a couple of things. One is, did he actually connect you with that team leader, or did he said, hey, how did that connection actually?
He didn't actually connect me. He gave me the number. He gave me his number.
And he said, hey, why don't you call my team leader? And okay. And look, for those that are listening, obviously that worked out for him, right? But we want to take a little bit more ownership of that process, because I hear it all the time, Helynn. People say, oh, I told this agent to go contact this market center, right? And then next thing you know, they've joined KW. That person wasn't the referral agent of record because they didn't make the connection. I'm sure he probably went to the team leader and said, "Hey, I've told this person to contact you." But I feel like we want to have the team leaders contacting the recruit, right? It's the first impression of that process. And if I can get a team leader to contact a recruit and say, "Hey, Helynn, would you be okay if my team leader contacted you?" That to me is taking a little bit more of a proactive approach, because who knows if you're going to pick up the phone and call that team leader, right? And does that team leader really know that that person was the one referring you? So I just want people to be very intentional about this. This is business, Helynn. We don't let buyers go talk to builders without contacting them, and we shouldn't let our recruiting referrals contact the market centers on their own. We want to be the one that secures that process. The other thing I want to say is this. I mean, you and I kind of shared a similar experience. I came out of real estate school. I didn't know how real estate companies were different. I joined a local boutique company that was very close to where I lived, and I didn't know any better. And I always tell people, Helynn, if all you know is Keller Williams, you're at a little bit of a disadvantage, because you ultimately don't know how good you got it at KW till you've been on the other side of this business. And even though you spent 5 years at this other company, my guess is it made you appreciate what you had at KW a lot more and gave you some perspective on how amazing KW was as you started to kind of integrate with our company. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely. I'm still recovering from the PTSD and the trauma from the older brother.
No, I get it. And look, that's what, and I'm looking forward to hearing how that sort of, probably became a part of your calling to profit share, is that, you're a teacher, you're an educator, and when there's a better place for people you respect and have relationships with to do business, that's, my guess, is what drives you. So talk about, you joined KW, right? And what was it like? Was it like drinking from the fire hose compared to what it was at one of these other companies that you were at? Tell me about that.
Absolutely. So when I walked through the doors, it was definitely like drinking through the fire hose.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I went from 0 to 100, no training, to training on steroids.
Exactly.
So I attended every class that I could attend practically, because I was just so grateful that there were classes to have. And I was like, wow, people actually share here. Like I couldn't believe that either. They actually come from contribution.
It's an amazing idea, right? Where together everybody achieves more. So you were still working dual career when you came to KW. So talk about what happened, at KW, how you were able to, how long did you continue to work this other career? What did it take for you to kind of break through and realize, okay, now that I'm being trained and have the resources that I need, what was that transition period for when you finally decided to kind of jump into real estate full time and give up that other career?
Well, first of all, it wasn't the conversation that it's so rich that we have now, and we have the title dual career agent. That didn't even exist back then, right? So it's just a totally different conversation now. So the trainings, the support, the technology, it wasn't there. So I did miss out on a lot of training that was scheduled during work hours. So I was trying to, juggle everything. And then came the One Thing tour.
Nice.
The One Thing tour with Gary and Jay. I actually went to both of the tours.
Amazing.
And then that was the light bulb moment. And I said, wow, multitasking is a myth, huh? It's like I'm doing it all. I'm like raising the kids and working and, trying to do this real estate thing. And this is not really the way that it should be, because I'm not focused.
And Helynn, were you a single mother, or were you?
No, I'm married. Yes. So I'm married. And that was also part of the aha, because at that time my husband was looking like, what are you doing? Like, because I was all over the place. I was literally all over the place, but working really hard, but not even as focused as I could be, because I didn't know what I didn't know.
Well, and also, Helynn, you got immediate needs, right? You got a daughter, right? You got to pay your bills, right?
Exactly.
Real estate is this sort of unknown, right? I mean, it's kind of that's the catch-22 of a dual career agent, which is, where does motivation and jumping into real estate full time, how do you balance your long-term goals with your immediate needs, which is paying your bills? And
Exactly.
so what was the big transition for you? Did you realize, okay, look, I can keep this other career and it's making my life easier, but did you feel like it was a crutch and that you had to kind of just rip the Band-Aid off and jump in full time? Or was it a little bit of a slower transition for you after you went to the one thing tours? What happened? You saw this, you realized, okay, I can't be the master of everything. I need to pick what I'm going to do. What was that transition like for you when you said, okay, I'm going all in? What did that look like?
I think that God ripped the Band-Aid off for me because I may have, still plugged away a little longer. But what happened, that the bank that I was working for merged with a larger brand. And then they came in and said that I could no longer do the job that I was doing because it was a conflict of interest to have my real estate license.
Sure.
And to be a personal banker. And they wanted me to go on for my Series 7 investment licenses.
Right.
So I was like, what do you mean I have to give up my real estate license?
You had a decision to make, right? Do you continue down that path as a banker, or did you got to continue into real estate, which was kind of this unknown? So you obviously made the decision, I'm going into real estate full time, right? So that was
gave me 45 days to make the decision, and I made it on the 45th day.
yeah, of course. You gotta milk that as long as you can. So what happened? So you came in, right? So what then happened to you, right? Like, I mean, this is now, I'm all in, I'm jumping into the fire. What changed? What gave you that momentum and that excitement to realize, okay, you know what? I'm at the right place. I'm getting the right training. All it really takes for me to get to the next step is a complete, full commitment to this career. Is that kind of the decision you made? Was, I'm just going to fully commit and master? And what did that look like to you?
Well, I did come in full on. And then I had another child. I had my son.
Nice.
And I really almost died on the table. So that was another aha moment, because I said, you know what? Life is short.
Yeah.
And I have to focus on what's most important. So between that and the One Thing book tour, it was focus. It was focus on what's the most important. Family is definitely important. I need to be here for them. I need to be happy, and I need to do things in a much better way. So that was definitely the aha moment for me. So
what you started, you committed to mastery, you committed to lead gen, time blocking.
I definitely committed to lead gen. But what happened at that time, after I had my son, I was dealing with some health challenges of my own. Because like I said, I had complications.
Yeah.
And my office, pretty much, it was a blessing because they rallied around me. And my OP at the time, Justine Lazara, she actually started a challenge in the market center, right? So a contest.
Yeah.
And it was a contest for who could give the most recruiting appointments, like who could refer the most agents for appointments. And at that time, she was transitioning from team leader to OP. So I was like, I like a good challenge. I was like, this is perfect. And it's going
to did you understand profit share at that point? I mean, obviously it was probably not on your radar when you joined KW. You were seeking training and support. But did you understand the profit share opportunity, or did you just say, hey?
No, I understood profit share from day one, actually from the first meeting. And I tried back to my friend Sandra that I told you that gave me the book that told me that I should try KW.
Yeah.
I actually tried on the very first, we had a big opening at our office, like a grand opening at our office. So I was like, oh, this is great. I can invite her. I'm going to bring her along with me because she needs to be here.
Yeah.
So that's my first thing. Like, I thought it was just going to be simple. 1, 2, 3. Let me show you what KW has, and you're going to come along. Well, it took her 6 years to come along, and I didn't give up on her. So I just kept, plugging away. And at first I got a little bit discouraged. And I said, well, if I can't even, show my friends the value, I'm not going to even try,
Right.
because I just need to put this profit share thing on the side. But I got it right away. So
But
I
you
just,
also knew that, that you had to become, right? You had to become more valid as an agent, right? You realized, that was going to be, you were going to give up on profit share, but maybe you needed to become more plugged into KW and more valid before you. I mean, there's nothing wrong with attracting people to KW right when you join. But my guess is that 6 months, 6 years that it took to get her there, she was watching you and seeing what you were becoming. And you were obviously still coming from contribution and all that great stuff. So that took 6 years. But this challenge that your OP gave you, right? What was that? Was there a prize for this? Whoever won this
yeah, the
contest?
prize was a trip to Mega Camp.
Okay, a trip to Mega Camp. So I'm going to take a wild guess and say you won the challenge. Okay,
I did.
or talk about. So you were how long into KW when this challenge kind of came to you? This was early on.
That was 2013.
Okay. So talk about how you took on the mindset around that challenge and how you took it on to win it. What did you do? What were your?
Well, first of all, I'm competitive.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to win that challenge,
Yeah.
and I'm going to Mega Camp. So that was the first thing. I really wanted to go to Mega Camp. So I was like, I'm going to win this challenge. So I just thought of every agent that I ever co-broked with that I liked, actually.
Yeah.
And I said, let me see if I could develop those relationships and share share Keller Williams with them. So I started inviting them to events, and asking if it's okay if I connected them with my team leader.
Yeah.
And I did that, and I did that with several people. I made a long list of people, and I was like, this is my hit list.
I love it.
I just started going down each one. And then at the end of the challenge, my team leader, she approached me and said, you really like this thing. I think that we may be onto something here.
Yeah.
And maybe you should consider talking to new agents about Keller Williams.
Yeah.
I was like, what does that look like? Like, I don't know if I could do that. And I had several different, limiting beliefs around that. And that's when I believe I reached out to you.
Yeah.
And because I watched you for quite some time, and I was like, oh, I like his energy, and I really like your passion behind profit share. So I'm gonna watch you and try to model what you're doing.
Yeah.
For myself, right? So you gave me a good pep talk. I remember.
So you started to focus on new agents. Was the office giving you a list to call off of, or was it?
Eventually, it got to that point. So it became a combination of both. So because they saw I had a passion, they did give me a list in the beginning, and then I started going really crazy. Like I was like, okay, wherever I go, I'm gonna find people. So it was like a combination of the list, other agents in the office. I was even talking to their recruits just for practice, like just because I'm like, if I can help you, let me talk to them, and of course honoring their profit share, but just talking to them from my perspective, and it worked. Many of the agents came on board, and they were added to their downlines. So I was like, I'm really liking this. And then I was put in charge of the growth committee. And then it was like career nights, and then I created something called the KW experience in my office. So what that was after our team meetings, I would invite agents to our team meetings. So that I would try to get, my goal was 10 for every team meeting that we had. And then I would take them to the conference room, and we would just have like a roundtable discussion, and I would share, Keller Williams and what we have to offer, and my experience and my story. And they was just so blown away between the team meeting and between all that KW had to offer. Many of them would go and get licensed, and then join us. So that was very productive at that time.
And so look, I mean, obviously what I'm hearing is, what you focus on expands, right? You obviously had an intentionality around it. You time blocked for the activity. You had your hit list. You had your new agents that you were going after. But what we both know, Helynn, is that profit share takes time, right? To actually see a financial result. So when you obviously the contest gave you a financial prize for winning that, but did you actually understand? I know you understood profit share, but did you actually understand, like, what was the light bulb moment for you financially? Like when you got your first check, or when one of your checks was bigger than you were even thinking? Was there a moment when because you were just doing this with a leap of faith, right? I mean, I didn't
I was
know
definitely doing with a
how
leap
much
of
you
faith.
understood the financial aspect of profit share, but like, at what point did you say, holy smokes, this thing that I love doing, that I'm
Yeah.
passionate about, is actually starting to equate to some real passive income? Was there a moment for you when that sort of was a light bulb, like, holy crap, this is not just something that I'm good at and that I enjoy doing. This is like an incredible wealth building opportunity.
Well, I think the first light bulb moment was when I attended your KW Effect class for the
Oh,
first
thank
time,
you. Yeah, that's great.
because that really got me amped up. And I was like, oh, wow. I was like, no, I can really take this to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was the light bulb moment. I was like, I am a stakeholder. I was
Yeah.
like, that's it. I was
Yeah.
like, that's it. That
I love it.
once you said those words,
Yeah.
I took on a whole different, persona. I was like, I am a stakeholder and I need to take ownership of that.
I
So that
love
was
that.
the first. That was the
So
first thing.
the money wasn't the motivation, even though you knew it was a potential for that. You realize, look, the more I think like a stakeholder, the more I take ownership of my experience at KW, the more this company is going to impact my life, my business, my family, and probably the more compelled I'm going to be to share this with other people in an authentic way. Because I think a lot of people, they want to get purposeful about profit share, but they never plug into KW or plug into the training, right? And then of course that interest in profit share tends to wane over time because they're not doing it for the right reasons, right? They're not doing it because they want to share KW. They're doing it because they want to just make profit share money. And I think that mentality sometimes is not sustainable, especially in moments like this, Helynn, when we're in the middle of a shift and profit shares, down, we're losing, agents from our company, from our downline. So, that I just want to highlight the fact that you first committed to KW. You started to think like a stakeholder. You started taking advantage of all the things that we had to offer. You then started getting intentional about profit share, but it wasn't the money that was driving that. But what, of course, once you started making money, you're like, holy smokes, like, not only am I changing
Works.
people's
It
lives and
works.
helping
Yeah.
people, I'm building this amazing wealth. And look, having two kids, right? I would think, when you were talking about going through some health issues early on in your real estate career, you had this perspective of, what's my legacy going to be to leave to my kids, because life is not guaranteed. And that really start to build up that, as you started to make a little bit of money and saw the effect that KW was having on the people you brought to KW, did that sort of create a snowball effect for you as far as your energy around profit share?
That's what really got me going, because the more I started to connect with different individuals,
Yeah.
the deeper the relationships got. And they became like an extension, like an extended family.
Sure.
So then I said, wow, I really became part of their lives and they
Yeah.
became part of mine. So that was the magical moment for me, because I felt, I have the opportunity to make an impact in lives.
Yeah.
And if I only had someone to speak to me at that time, it could have saved me a lot of pain, a
Exactly.
lot of, time and money. If I could do that for someone else, that's what I want to do. So that's why I'm passionate about new agents. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll talk to everyone. It doesn't matter as long as they listen. But the new agents became a passion of mine, the career changers in transition, like I was.
Right. And look, you're
That's
like me. You're a teacher, right? I mean, at the end of the
Mhm.
day, would you have a teaching background before?
I have my master.
Yeah.
I did go back after and get my master's
I
in
love
teaching.
that. I love
Yes, I
that.
did.
But and look, that's what I love about new agents too, right? They're, first of all, they say thank you when they get off the phone with you, or when they don't know anything about anything, and right. And if you're in the business of just helping them and educating them so that they can make the best decision for themselves, that's fulfilling. And I try to not tether myself to the results, meaning do they join KW? Do I get their sponsorship? Am I earning profit share off of them? I'm a teacher and I love to teach. And look, I wish I had sponsored 400 mega agents to KW, and I had many limiting beliefs myself. But the thing about new agents is that they're excited about talking to you, right? In most cases, they're more nervous to talk to you than you are to them. And then it can be much more of a mindset of contribution and abundance instead of trying to break through sort of the stigma of trying to recruit somebody, right? Because existing agents know that you're eventually trying to get them to KW. And look, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that new agents, I think, for people like you and me, is more fulfilling and more sustainable over time. And yeah, sometimes it takes more new agents to right to get them to stick. But my guess is, Helynn, some of the new agents you brought to KW who survived, how are they doing? Yeah.
They're doing well. I've seen, I know you and Mahogany always talk about the third generation of profit share. I'm on the third generation of my tree. So,
I love that.
So I've had agents come and go, but I've had agents, also go on to do other things, open their own brokerages and go into other careers. So, relocate, do other things that have been exciting, and we're still in contact, and I'm still cheering for them. So,
sure. And we can't control that, right? And we can't, we can't control if somebody finds a better opportunity or thinks that there's a better company, right? All we can do is love on them, stay in relationships, hope that sometimes, when they think the grass is greener on the other side, it isn't always greener. And they tend to, a lot of people that leave our company and go to other companies tend to come back. But what we can focus on is our mindset, our intentionality around continuing to be purposeful about profit share. And I think the exciting thing about this moment, Helynn, is that, look, it's a tough time. It's a tough time for our industry. It's a tough time for KW. It's a tough time for profit share. But as Gary Keller always says, the greatest shift of wealth and opportunity are in down cycles, not up cycles. And Helynn, some of the new agents we get to KW right now that survive this shift and build their careers, in fundamental, foundations of training and support, they're going to crush it for years to come. And so new agents, sometimes the quality's in the quantity, but I think, for those of us that don't feel comfortable trying to recruit existing agents, new agents is a great way to cut your teeth, get confidence around profit share, and actually have success with attracting people. Yeah,
absolutely. I agree.
So where are you at today? Talk about, like, how many people have you directly sponsored to KW?
I directly sponsored over the years over 100 people to KW, right? But that's not where I am now. But but I have done that.
And so we know that some of them have left, right? I mean, my guess.
Yes.
And you've been intentional now this is how long that you've been intentional. You sponsored your first agent when?
2013 is when I really.
So it's been over a decade of being intentional. You've obviously lost some people that you've sponsored, but my guess is a couple of them have stuck and have started to get purposeful about growing KW. Are there any stories of your downline of people you've attracted to KW who have become a top agent, who've become somebody in leadership, who got intentional about profit share? Is there anybody you want to speak about that has this company has really impacted at a high level?
Well, I could say that through growing through the whole profit share journey, I've gotten a deeper appreciation for what KW offers, because I've had the opportunity to see several people that I have recruited become team leaders, to go and join teams, to build their own teams. Like I've seen all of that happen, and that's been amazing for me. And also, I think the next aha moment was during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Because when business stopped and we were not essential in New York, and we were told that we couldn't make phone calls and do a lot of different things, the check stopped, but not the profit share. Those checks not only kept going, they actually increased significantly during the pandemic. So I was like, wow, that was definitely an aha moment. And it was during that time that I actually broke the 6-figure mark in profit share. So
Wow.
I was very excited.
I always tell people, even as we're here in this moment that we're in right now, is that even though profit share's down over, and ironically, Helynn, the biggest profit share year in the history of Keller Williams was 21, right? We gave back almost $200 million in profit share that year. But I know in New York, it was a lot more challenging, right? Because you guys weren't able to really do business for a period of time there, but the rest of the industry was just crushing it. And I think a lot of people were looking at real estate agents during the pandemic and thinking, man, I wish I was a real estate agent, right? Because they were getting laid off.
Yeah.
They were, they were struggling. And a lot of real estate agents outside of New York were having some of the best years of their career. And I always tell people, I think the pandemic has brought in some amazing new talent into our industry. There's a lot of people that have decided to change careers. They wanted more control. They didn't want to be at the mercy of their company's, layoffs, right? They wanted to be a business owner. So I'm just telling you, we're seeing more top talent coming into real estate post-pandemic than we did pre-pandemic. And I think even though right now, this year, let's say we give back 100 million in profit share compared to 200 million back in 21. I mean, look, to me, that money's worth a lot more money to our associates in a shifting market than it is in an up market. Because even though we might be making less money, that money's worth 10 times more money to me today than it was during the pandemic or even, in the top of the market. So those are the moments. And people right now, Helynn, when we talk about profit share, we talk about getting people more excited about profit share. Look, we know most of our fellow KW agents and agents in our industry, they're just trying to sell houses, right? This idea of being purposeful about attracting people to KW right now, a lot of our agents are not purposeful about it because they're just trying to sell houses. But these are the moments, Helynn, right, that people like me that are intentional, we're going to get our unfair share by continuing to be intentional about it in a down market. Yes?
I believe so. That's exactly correct.
Right. I mean, I don't call me crazy. I think being a training and consulting company driven by purpose and community, I kind of feel like our value proposition is more valuable right now than it's ever been. And, I think we're going to emerge from this moment as a much stronger company. And the agents that are purposeful about profit share right now are going to be the ones that reap the benefits of these of their efforts over these next couple of years. So what are you doing right now? Look, you're trying to sell houses, obviously, too. But talk about your mindset and your strategy around continuing to be purposeful about profit share, even though maybe profit share is down a little bit. How do you kind of overcome the market of the moment and continue to power through with profit share? Because I know you're driven by more than just money, right? I mean, this is a spiritual journey for you, right?
Yes, it is.
This company has changed your life, right? And your family's life. So talk about the mindset in this moment and how you're continuing to be purposeful about it when maybe the financial results right now are not as significant as they were, a couple of years ago for us.
Well, I often remind myself there's people out there that need to hear from me, right? They're struggling. They may be at a job or a season in their life that they're having difficulty, and there's things that they need to connect with KW. Because I often say, even the courses that we offer at KW, it's not even all about the business. Because I know many of the courses, Bold, for example, that changes lives, not just business, because like the Bold saying, your business only grows to the extent that you do.
Exactly.
If there was a person, I would probably be that person, because the work that I've had to do on myself since I've been here at KW has spilled over into, my family and everyone else that I talk to. So I think that's the constant reminder. And if I get beat up in the real estate market out in the trenches and doing the lead gen and being frustrated by any of that, when I pick up the phone and I speak to someone that is a possible candidate to join KW or to just share real estate with, that charges me and fuels me, and it's often the bright spot of my day.
I love that. So talk about, how do those conversations go? I mean, are you still going after new agents through, how, if you're going after new agents, how are those leads coming in versus, relationship leads or experience leads or your hit list? Let's first talk about new agents. You still working on new agents? Yeah.
That's my passion. So I will always still work on new agents.
Where are those leads coming from? Where are those conversations?
They're coming from everywhere. Actually, I actually have some of my past clients that I've signed agents from my past client, family members, children of my past clients. So
how do those conversations go? How do you find out? Because, look, we always say, I always say that all the time. There are people in your real estate database right now that are thinking about being a real estate agent, or changing careers. So what does that script or conversation look like for you to identify potential people in your database or people that they know? Because most agents are saying, hey, do you know anybody looking to buy or sell real estate? And that's kind of the end of their questions or what they're asking about. How do you ask your database about considering a real estate career or knowing somebody? Is it a simple script? Tell me how that conversation goes for you to identify those people.
I usually listen for clues. That's how it starts. So if someone, like I've had past clients, they talk about how much they love real estate or enjoy it. And I was like, well, why don't you consider, have you ever considered a career in real estate? And that opens the conversation. Or I've had, some past clients say that their children or their nieces and nephews would be interested in real estate. And I said, well, let me speak to them. Is it okay if I speak to them? And that's how it all starts. But I usually listen in everything I do. I'm doing more listening than talking. In most scenarios. If anyone says that they're looking for a new opportunity as a career, I'm like, have you ever considered a career in real estate? So that's usually how it starts. If I just hear a little inkling, and if they're already licensed and they're complaining that things are not working out, or could you believe this is what happened? This is what my broker did. I'm like, well, maybe you should try to come to this training, or you should come in and talk to my team leader. So it really just depends, but I'm always listening for a cue. They tease me at the office because they say when I get that look in my eye, they know.
Once you got your hooks in somebody, right? You're going to find out how you can help them. And look, that's kind of what it comes down to, Helynn, right? At the end of the day, you're in the business of helping people, right? And if you can help somebody in your database get into real estate, or help somebody that's a family member achieve their dreams of being a real estate agent, I don't know. My guess is it probably secures your mind share with them as their real estate expert of choice, right? And what would you tell somebody? Because I hear this all the time, Helynn. People say, well, why would I want to get my clients into real estate? They're going to be I'm going to lose their business, and they're going to be competing with me for real estate. So how do you deal with that? I know what your answer is going to be, but tell people who say, look, I don't want to turn my clients into competition, right? What would you tell somebody who has that kind of mindset?
Well, I try to operate from abundance and not scarcity. So that's something I try to be very mindful of. But I'd rather have them a part of the family than to be at another brokerage. And I know that being at KW can change their life. So especially if it's a client that we've worked together. And I've been blessed to have some great clients that I enjoy working with. And like I said, they have even become part of my extended family. So you want to be around people that you like. I mean, it just makes it a lot more fun. And I feel we can all grow together. So I try not to think of that as, what if they won't come? I feel like we'll all grow.
And look, if we're thinking from a business standpoint, let's get real. The wealth building and the money you can earn off of attracting somebody, a past client into real estate, far exceeds the money you'll earn off of potential real estate transactions through them, right? And And look, we don't even talk about who they might become and who they might attract to KW. And I think a lot of people don't see the long game with profit share, because I think about, and when, before I got on this call with you, Helynn, I know you came in as a dual career agent, and I just thought about, I have a guy in my downline, and I did a post about it a couple months ago, with this guy named David and Karen Becker that came into KW as brand new agents, as part-time agents. And my recruit, Brent Mitchell, who's very purposeful about internet recruiting, he sponsored them to KW, right? Well, now David is the OP of the Harrisburg East Market Center. His wife runs his big team. And I'm doing a Zoom call with them in a couple of weeks or next week. And I just think about, like, how many people back in the day would say, well, we don't even get into business with dual career agents, or we don't go after new agents. And I always think back to what Gary Keller said back in 2005 that sort of set my world on fire. He said, look, many of the leaders of our industry 5 years from now, they're not even in the business yet. And, that's what's so great about, I think, new agents, is that, if they come into this business and they buy into our training and support, it doesn't take very long to potentially become a capper, an influential agent, a top team, a potential team leader, an OP. I mean, my guess is, Helynn, if you keep on this path, you're probably going to have some leadership opportunities that are going to be offered to you if they haven't already been offered to you. And like, I think every opportunity at KW starts with showing people that you're an attractor to KW, right? So have you ever been offered a leadership position yet, or anything like that? Or I'm just curious.
Well, like I said, I served on the ALC, and I also in the growth committee chair. I've chaired the growth capacity. So and
so if you wanted,
I'd like to jump in whenever I can, if it's growth. If it's growth, I'm there.
We talk about being a growth. So being a growth, an associate in a market center that raises their hands and says, look, not only do I want to take more ownership of this market center and get purposeful about profit share, I want to actually be the person that's driving growth in my market center. So what was that transition like? And what are your thoughts about, because look, all I do is travel around KW trying to get people excited about profit share. So as a growth committee chair, as the growth partner of the year, winner for your market center, I don't know if that was a regional award, what do you see the challenges for getting our agents excited about profit share right now, especially in these moments? What are you doing to get them excited about it?
Well, like you always say, we can't be our own best kept secret. So it has to start from within. A lot of times the focus is on bringing outside agents in, but now the focus really needs to be working with the agents that are already here.
Yeah. I love that you say that. So getting our existing agents to understand who we are, why we're different, right? That's where it all starts. Because look, we all love gross recruits. I'm kind of a little bit more excited about net recruiting numbers. But I think it's hard to build a market center that nobody ever wants or needs to leave.
Exactly.
If 80% of your people don't fully understand who you are and why you're different. And going back again to Mahogany Rose's quote, we're in the third generation of KW. I mean, how many people in our office, how many of our local leadership teams have been with KW longer than 5-10 years, and that really understand who we are, the journey we've been on, where we're going. So are you still on the growth committee right now?
I'm not on the growth committee now, but even though I'm not.
But you're always growing.
I'm always growing. But like, for example, how many times have I followed you to a KW Effect conversation?
I know. You're always there, right? Anytime. And are you part of CORE now, or are you a part of
I'm actually, the funny story, the first time that I saw you was at KW Trumbull, right? Because you invited me and some of the great agents there to come on down. And then I saw you again at KW Stanford.
you had to leave early, right? Because you had something was going on in your personal life. Was there something?
I had to, yes, I did. I had to leave early
I
because,
remember.
yeah, actually, that day that I was at KW Stanford, my father passed away.
Oh yeah, I remember him. Yes, I remember. And the fact that you were there that day, and that you had to leave, and you think you sent me a message afterwards, like, "Hey, I'm so sorry I had to leave, but my father passed away." I just know, like, that meant so much to me that you would even share that with me. But I just remember that as because you were there. It wasn't your office. You came to come see me, and I knew there was something up when you had to leave early.
Yeah,
But
because I couldn't even give you your hug. So
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
story
yeah.
behind that, I was actually, so my, the last 2017, that was
Yeah.
2017. My mother and my father were both ill. So I was going back and forth to doctor's appointments,
Sure,
hospital
sure.
appointments, with them. And even in waiting rooms, talking to recruits to get my mind off of
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
was going through. But my dad knew how important profit share was to me, how important going to your meeting was.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
actually switched appointments with my cousin because it was
Wow.
actually a podiatrist appointment that he was going to. And I told myself, I said, okay, well, yes, we can switch because this is not one of the main doctor's appointments, right, to go to.
Right.
And he wanted me to go to that meeting.
Sure.
But unfortunately, I was in the meeting and the meeting was almost over, the KW effect with you. And then I got the call from my
Amazing.
cousin, and he found my dad. And I was in shock because I couldn't believe what I was really
Yeah,
hearing. And I just
yeah.
walked out of the meeting. But that just is not lost on me that happened and where I
Yeah.
was. I could have been anywhere.
Well,
But
no,
the
and I think and first of all, I'm honored that you would have spent that time with me under those circumstances anyway, but it also just shows you had taken my class before, and just the power of focus and intentionality, right? Like, I think particularly right now where, like I said before, I think a lot of our agents who tend to be more immediate gratification based, right? Where right now people just want to sell houses, get that commission check, pay that bill, right? They don't have space in their mind emotionally or strategically to even think about profit share as a part of this business that they're running. So what would you tell somebody right now that doesn't see the power of profit share as a priority in their lives, their business? I mean, what do you tell them, people that you try to get excited that are our own associates, about profit share right now? Because it is a challenge, Helynn. I mean,
it is, yeah.
tough time to be a profit share evangelist. It's a tough time to be beating pounding the drum around profit share when 25-30% of our offices are not that profitable right now, even though we know East Coast beats West Coast, and on the East Coast we have market centers that are very profitable, right? So what do you tell people in your office or people you meet at KW that maybe are not, profit share is not something that they're even thinking about? Like, what do you tell somebody like that who you want to help to see the light of profit share?
Well, first, I want to go back and tell you, look at the power of how God works, right? Because I told you the first time that I went to see you was at KW Trumbull, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I drove from White Plains to
Yeah.
KW Trumbull in
Yep.
Connecticut. Then the next time I was at KW Stanford. And
Yeah.
that's, when I had a tragic moment when my
Sure.
dad died.
Sure.
And now, as we flash forward to present day, we're now all a part of KW Collective, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, look at how full circle that moment has happened, that we're
Exactly.
all a part of the same umbrella, our offices. So that's the first
Awesome.
thing. The second thing that I would say, for someone who wants to become purposeful about profit share, I would just say, share your story and how KW has changed your life or your business. The parts, the classes, invite people to courses, because you're coming from contribution.
Yeah.
And if you're on a deal with someone and it's a great experience, the agent who's on the other side, keep that relationship going. Just ask them what they need. Maybe they need, a course. Maybe
Yeah.
they need one of our coaching classes. Maybe they just need support. Maybe they need to join the pivot shift call in the morning, like whatever it is.
So how do you find that pain? What do those conversations look like with co-broke agents or people you have relationships with? But how do you broach that? How do you approach the conversation about, because, look, a lot of agents, when you start talking about their business, sometimes they are, hesitant to share their inefficiencies, or they feel like maybe somebody's telling them they're doing it wrong. How do you find that they're paying? Like, I mean, obviously you're an agent they respect, number one, the way you handle the transaction. But at what point do you shift from real estate agent to purposeful attractor to KW? I mean, what's your go-to line? Like, what do you say to these people that gets them to open up about maybe where the pain is in their business, and then get them to say, okay, you know what? Yeah, I do want to come to this training class, even though maybe in the back of their mind, they know Helen's trying to recruit them to KW. How do you have that conversation, and how do you get them to the training class in a way that allows them to lower their sort of walls around that?
Well, I always remain in contribution. I try not to do it in a creepy way, like come to this class, like you need to come to. It's really not like that. It's more of a conversation. We're talking as two peers in the industry, and they may say something like, I'm having this challenge, or this market is very tough for me right now, and I'm stressed, and I can't make it all happen and come together. And I'll just say, we're having this class. You may want to come by because I know what you feel. I'm going through the same thing. And come to the class. It's not any pressure. Just come, and if you get some training that you need, it could help bring you to the next level. And they usually trust me when I say that. It's not like I bounce on them or tell them come and talk to my team leader. It's really just very conversational, or
and that's built on the foundation of, hey, I've been an agent that you respect, who's gone the extra mile in the transaction, who's coming from contribution, showing empathy, and then finding out, okay, look, some of the great lines I've heard have been like, hey, tell me about your real estate business right now. How would you rate it on a scale of 1 to 10? What would make it a 10, right? Just to kind of get a sense of what their pain is. And then, look, you invite them to training, right, without any conversations about trying to get them to join KW, right? So if they come to the training class, obviously that's a sign that they're seeking out other opportunities. So at what point do you, from the training, getting them to a training class and building that relationship, at what point does Helynn go for I'm not going to say the kill, but goes for the appointment? Because you and I both know that's the action step, right?
Exactly.
Like, until they get in front of a team leader to talk about a conversation around KW, they're not a real prospect, right? I mean, they're not a real recruit. So what do you do to get them from the training class and contribution to willing to take a call from your team leader, or to meet with the team leader? What's your go-to line, conversation, moment? When do you think that's the right time to go for that?
Well, early on in the conversation, I do ask them, are they open to new opportunities? So I do ask if they're open, then we can have a deeper conversation about what opportunities and what they need. A lot of the time, we've had so much of a conversation back and forth about what KW could do for them, and what they could plug into, what they're missing from their business. By the time I do connect them with my team leader, it's usually for them to say, okay, where do I sign?
Yeah.
And that's really because
that line is, would you be offended if I had my team leader contact you? Or do you say like, hey, I was talking to my team leader about how amazing you are, and they would love to reach out and have a conversation? What's your go-to line to present that call for action?
Well, I do ask them, would you mind if I connected you with my team leader, because we've had such a great time working together on this transaction, or I appreciate you making this transaction as pleasant as it was. So it's really it's very conversational.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Like I said, I don't like to pressure anybody. The
Sure.
same way that I handle my real estate business is the same way that I handle,
Yeah.
profit share. Really, people need to self-actualize on what's the best opportunity for them.
Right.
I can only lead them to the
Yeah.
well. I cannot make them drink. Right. So
Helen, you
that's
made over six figures in profit share, and I think you and I both can agree you're just getting started,
I'm
right?
just getting started. That is right.
Getting started, and my guess is if you never recruited another person or attracted another person to KW, that number would obviously continue to grow over time. And talk about what this money and what you're building, what that means for you, for your kids. First of all, I know you have a huge passion for training children. I know you do KW Kids Care and all that stuff. Talk about what it means to you personally, okay, and for your kids, and how that shaped your why around it. But then plug that into your overall why, because this is so much more than just wealth building for you, right? You keep saying that this is a spiritual journey for you. This is a calling from God. This is a mission, right? To help people. But talk about personally what it means to you and your family, and then what it means to you as a whole when you start to talk about changing people's lives and spreading the gift of KW and profit share.
Well, personally, this is my 401KW, right?
Yeah, right.
We have to build that for ourselves. So that's the legacy I'm building. And as far as my children, they have watched this growth journey. Right?
Yeah.
So they get excited about it. It has funded private school, college tuition, activities, extracurricular activities. So they have received the benefit of that. But aside from that, they've gotten to the opportunity to meet many of the agents that I brought in. And
awesome.
So that's been very powerful for them. And aside from all of that, every class, everybody that pours into me from KW, all of the training, I bring that home. I bring that to everything that I do. So I feel like it's always exponentially being delivered across the board to everyone that I come in contact with.
Right. So this company's I know you're a spiritual person, right? I mean, does that aspect of our company, the God Family Business, right? Is that a part of your ethos, your conversations with people about KW and how all of that ties together? Because you're out here trying to change lives, whether it be through your real estate or whether it be through attracting people to KW. But how does that all? Because look, I'm not the most religious guy in the world. I'm a spiritual guy. Right. I try to find purpose in what I do that's well beyond money and all of that stuff. But how does all of this in your life journey sort of tie into this overall mindset of, because Linda McKissick will say, how many people is too much to help, right? Like, do you just see that as, I'm in the business of just trying to help people, and whether it's real estate, whether it's recruiting, whatever it might be, is that what drives you, this bigger purpose? And then what is this connection with you and children and women empowerment? I know that's also another big part of who you are. Talk about how all these things kind of tie in and how the experience at KW is helping you get closer to achieving that, because we have such amazing women empowerment, children empowerment stuff with KW Kids Care and Quantum Leap for Kids, and what we're doing for empowering women at KW, right? How does all of that kind of tie into your overall life purpose, of being spiritual, being driven by wanting to help people, and then of course building wealth for you and your family?
Well, I believe when you're blessed, you have to be a blessing to others, right? So when I was in corporate America, you would not have these conversations, right? There was no God Family Business. There was just, do your work and keep it moving. It was not any of this. So I think the opportunity to be able to, create the life by design that you want to have. Sure. I think that is just such a huge gift that we're all giving. And the opportunity that I can help others. See, I had no fulfillment in any of my jobs, my personal fulfillment. I was just working for a paycheck.
Same here.
that just didn't make me happy. I was sad. Actually, it was making me feel like I was serving a sentence and not living. So the opportunity that every day I get to build, I get to create a life by design, I get to grow and become a better person, a better business owner, a better human, that just excites me. I
Yeah.
get to be that example for my children. I get to have the opportunity to leave a legacy,
And serve,
um,
right? And serve at a higher level,
and
because
serve at a high level.
serving
That's
yourself
what.
and your family, right? I mean, the bottom line, it's hard to serve other people if you're not serving yourself and your family, and you don't love what you do. And I always tell people, like, this company will change your life. Okay. It'll change your business. It'll change your family's trajectory.
Mhm.
But you got to plug in, right? You gotta come from contribution. You got to seek out knowledge. You got to be a culture driven agent, because at the end of the day, Helynn, being authentic, right, to me is what makes it so sweet, right? Like when you're a great agent, which you are, Helynn, and buyers and sellers would be lucky to work with you, right? That's a powerful feeling when you know that you're committed to mastery, you're committed to the client experience, that these people will not find a better agent to take care of them. That's a powerful thing, and that should compel you to tell people that you're a real estate agent, right? It's the same thing with profit share, right? And attracting people to KW. The more you seek out the opportunities that this company has to offer, the more it impacts your life and your family and your business, and the more compelled you are to want to share it authentically with people. And I think that's what makes it so sweet for people like you and me, is that we're just giving back to this company that's changing our lives. And, when we talk to people about KW, it's not a sales pitch. Okay. It's a testimonial. It's a testimonial from somebody that hopefully you respect, who wants to refer something to you that they believe in. And I think the cool thing about where we are, Helynn, is that you're in an amazing market center and an amazing ownership group. So am I, right? Like the force is strong in these offices on the East Coast, right? Like this is not an idea, right? This is real. And if you can get someone to KW into one of our offices, right, you can feel good that they have everything that they need to be successful. You agree?
I agree. We have some amazing leaders in this company, like yourself, that are willing to pour into everyone that steps through the KW doors. And the conversations, I feel like they've only gone to the next level since the pandemic. Like the conversations that we're had now
Right.
is just amazing. The training.
Yeah. I mean, look, when the market's up and there's no pandemic, sometimes people don't appreciate culture and community and purpose like they do in moments like these, right? And I always tell people, like, as I travel around our company, like, I'm not wishing a natural disaster to hit your town. Okay. Trust me, I'm not wishing that. But when you go to places like Maui, or you go to places like Fort Myers, Florida, or New Orleans, or Houston, Texas, or any places that we've had a natural, Joplin, Missouri, where there's been these horrible natural disasters, the culture is so strong in those locations after they experience the KW response to those natural disasters. And I tell people all the time, if you haven't experienced, you don't appreciate KW culture till you need it. Okay. And I feel like right now our culture is having sort of a moment, because in the tough times, we need this, right? We need community culture. We need a company that wants to fight for the future of our profession, right? And so I actually think we're standing on the verge of what's going to be the next great big growth spurt at KW. And I think people need to understand that growth can be messy, and sometimes you grow so big, so fast that sometimes your stories and your culture can't have a hard time keeping up with it. But Helynn, I think the last 5-6 years, we've recalibrated as a company. We've found our true north again. I don't know if you're feeling that or not.
I'm definitely feeling that. And
I feel like we're going to come out of
companies do you know come together, band together, support agents, give back,
Right.
How many companies do that?
So what are you going to do moving forward, Helynn? So you've made over 6 figures, right? What are you going to do? What's your mindset moving forward over the next couple of years for you to kind of try to 10X this a little bit? I know you love on the people you bring to KW.
Yes.
Hopefully inspiring them will get them excited about attracting people, and that will help grow your tree deep. But is it just going to be a consistent effort moving forward? Are you going to do something different? Are you getting out of your comfort zone to build your profit share tree? Or is it just going to be, hey, I'm just going to do what I've done and I'm just going to keep pounding forward here, trying to help people?
I'm always willing to jump out of my comfort zone, Aaron, but I won't be happy until I go global, right? I need to go.
That's what I'm talking, worldwide, right? So is there anything intentional you're doing around that? Or is it more just, hey, I'm hoping my tree grows internationally? Or is there, do you like to travel? Or are you traveling different
I love
places?
to travel. I haven't traveled to the places that I want to grow yet, but what has happened every time I speak with someone, I ask them, and if they have family and friends in other places, I'm like, oh yeah, we do have a KW there. We do have a presence there, and I'm trying to plant the seeds that way to grow. But I'm still working that through and how I'm going to grow that way. At first, I need to be in every state and every region that we serve. But I definitely that's on my mission.
You doing any kind of online stuff as well, or to expand your geographic locations at all? Or
well, I have been one of the early adopters of your website, so
of the McKissick websites,
yes. So amazing, I do that. And I am playing the long game because I remember one of our early conversations. You said you could play the short game or you could play the long game. So I've been playing the long game. Slow and steady wins the race.
Seeds around with some newer agents around the country, right? That's what
exactly.
Yeah. And how has that been going? Have you having some success with that?
Well, I haven't broken into to any of the other regions yet, but I'm working on it. I am working on it.
I have no doubt that you will have tons of success with that. And Helynn, I can't, when I meet somebody like you, you fill my cup, because
thank you.
No, but seriously though, because I've seen you over the years being intentional about profit share, coming to my classes, and when I see that you're having that success right now and that you're just getting started, right? Like I can't imagine when we talk 10 years from now, 20 years from now, what the effort that you've been putting into this is going to turn into over time. So I can't thank you enough for just being you, but also being the kind of KW associate that says, look, I want to take a greater ownership stake in my company. I want to be a part of not just the growth, but also the culture and the retention and all those things, because it takes a village, Helynn, right? Like if we want to protect this legacy for you, for your kids, for me, my wife, and all the things that we want to do, it's going to take a village of people like you and me galvanizing our fellow agents. So look, thanks for all you do. Thanks for taking time today. This has been a great call. It's gotten me fired up, and I just can't wait to see what happens with you next. And thanks for all you're doing to make KW shine brighter every day. So
I appreciate you, Aaron. Thank you so much. This is actually our 10th anniversary, our 10-year anniversary.
I love it. So
since we spoke,
think about where this will be in 10 years, right? I mean, look, this shift ain't gonna last forever. And last time I checked, KW was born in a shift. We took over this industry in the last shift, and I just feel like we're on the brink of what will be one of the biggest growth spurts in the history of KW. So just keep growing, keep sharing, because the people you get to KW right now, they're going to be the leaders of this company for years to come. So thanks again, Helynn, and I'll
thank you so much.
Make sure I share this on YouTube and get you a copy of it. All right.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Have a great day.
Take care, dear. Bye-bye. Bye.